You ever been driving down a lonely road at night and you get that weird sense of déjà vu? You pass the same strange tree twice, then a third time, and it feels like your destination just isn't getting any closer? Well, maybe it's a GPS glitch, or you could be trapped in the hunting ground of a terrifying creature from Indian folklore. Today, we are diving deep into the legend of the Chhalava, a traveler's absolute worst nightmare.
So, imagine this. A group of college students on a bus hear this exact warning, right before their entire world turns into a horrifying repeating loop. And look, this isn't just some campfire story. This is like a playbook for a predator that uses the road itself as a weapon.
So what is the Chhalava exactly? Well, the name itself comes from the Hindi word for deception, and that pretty much tells you everything you need to know. Deception is the core of this hunter's power.
Okay, so the story goes that a Chhalava is a very specific kind of ghost. It's the restless soul of someone who died on the road at night. And because it can't find peace, it traps other night travelers, forcing them into its own terrifying cycle. It doesn't just want to scare you. No, it literally feeds on your fear and your exhaustion until you completely break down.
All right, so here are the basic rules of the game. 1. It is strictly a creature of the night. 2. Its targets are always people on a journey. 3. The more scared and tired you get, the stronger it gets. It messes with your head, creates illusions, and it has one big weakness. Its power disappears at sunrise. You're going to want to remember these rules. They are literally the key to survival.
So how does a Chhalava actually hunt? This isn't about jump scares or things that go bump in the night. No, it's a calculated psychological attack. It's designed to dismantle a group of people from the inside out by literally bending reality around them.
The attack always follows this very clear three-step pattern. First, it finds a group on an isolated road, making them vulnerable. Then, it creates the loop, forcing them to drive the same stretch over and over again. And finally, once everyone's confused and exhausted, it starts to bring in these vivid, horrifying illusions to really push them over the edge.
And we're not talking about just vague, spooky feelings. In the stories we have, the victims saw real, solid things that just shouldn't have been there. An overturned truck that they kept passing again and again. A random tea stall in the middle of a dense jungle. Get this, a road sign that said they were only 60 kilometers from a city that should have been 8 hours away. It even created an entire phantom village, complete with a violent mob, just to terrorize them.
So you have to understand, getting stuck on a looping road is scary, for sure. But that's just the opening act. The Chhalava's real goal, its most dangerous trick, is something far more personal and way more insidious.
And here it is. This is the twist that turns a simple ghost story into a full-blown psychological thriller. The Chhalava finds the weakest, most tired person in the group, it isolates them, kills them with pure fright, and then it takes over their body. The monster is now inside the car with you, and it's wearing the face of your friend.
What's so wild is that you can see this exact pattern play out in two totally different accounts. In the school bus story, the target was Sham, a quiet kid who went to the restroom by himself. In the road trip story, it was Adi who got out of the car alone to check the trunk. In both cases, the Chhalava's goal was exactly the same: get inside the group and make them tear each other apart.
There's this quote from one of the stories that really explains the scariest version of this thing, the Amavas, or new moon, Chhalava. This is the one that specializes in attacking groups, like a bus full of people. It doesn't just haunt you from the outside, it infiltrates, using a possessed body like a puppet to manipulate all the survivors.
So this ultimate deception, it creates this horrifying game. You're trapped, you're exhausted, and you know for a fact that one of your friends is no longer your friend. Your survival now depends on solving this life or death puzzle.
I mean, really think about that. How would you do it? How do you expose a monster that has all of your friends' memories, their voice, their face? You can't fight what you can't identify, right? And the Chhalava is counting on that paranoia to make you turn on each other long before you can figure out the truth.
And this is how you solve it. A Chhalava can wear a person's skin, but it can't perfectly copy their soul. It makes mistakes. In one story, the possessed student actually smiled while his teachers were being murdered, just a flicker of something inhuman. In the other, the possessed friend got a tiny detail about his own life wrong, saying his uncle ran a travel agency when he actually ran a food stall. Those little slips, they're the only cracks in the mask.
So once the imposter is finally unmasked, the final act begins. But knowing who the monster is and actually defeating it, well, those are two very different things. Now comes the real fight for survival.
Okay, so if we put it all together, we can actually build a survival guide. Rule 1, whatever you do not stop the car. That cozy-looking village or diner that just appears out of nowhere, it's a trap. Remember, its main weapon is paranoia, so you have to stay united. You have to look for those tiny mistakes, that weird lack of empathy. And once you find the host, you have to be ready to do the unthinkable.
The lore is brutal and crystal clear on this point. Once you've identified the possessed body, the only way to get rid of the spirit is to destroy the vessel it's in. The survivors had to physically attack the body of their own friend to kill the thing that was wearing it.
But here's this one last fascinating detail. According to the legends, when people actually manage to defeat a Chhalava, they don't just banish it. They actually free that tormented spirit from its curse. They grant it salvation. So in a very strange way, by surviving its attack, you're also setting it free.
And really, that brings us to the true heart of this legend. Yeah, the Chhalava is a monster, but its power comes from a very human weakness: our inability to trust each other when we're under pressure. It forces you to ask this deeply uncomfortable question. When everything falls apart, are you absolutely sure you know who